My name is Lily Andrews, and I'm 28 years old. I live with my stepmother and my younger sister, Rachel, in the house my late father left to me. My life has never been easy in this family, but I've always tried to make things work for the sake of peace. That night, everything changed. It was a big party. My stepmother, Gloria, loves hosting these fancy events, even though she's always complaining about money. Guests filled the house, laughing, drinking, and showing off their expensive clothes. I kept to myself, standing near the kitchen and staying out of the spotlight, as I always do. Then it happened. Rachel, my 24-year-old sister, stood in the middle of the living room, her voice loud enough to catch everyone's attention. "Oh, Lily's here. Look at her. Always hiding in the shadows like she doesn't belong." Her words cut through me like a knife. Some guests laughed nervously, unsure of how to react. My face burned with embarrassment, but I didn't respond. I never liked confrontations, and Rachel knew that. Before I could slip away, Gloria joined in. "Well, maybe Lily doesn't belong here. After all, she doesn't contribute to anything important around here, unlike Rachel." Gloria smiled at the crowd, acting as if her words were a joke. But they weren't. I wanted to scream, to defend myself, but I stayed silent. No one knew that I had been secretly paying for Rachel's college tuition for the last 2 years. She wouldn't even have her fancy degree without me. And here she was, insulting me in front of everyone. After the party, I went to my room, hoping for some quiet. But Gloria wasn't done with me yet. She stormed in, her voice sharp and cold. "You need to pack your things and leave, Lily. This house isn't yours anymore. You're just taking up space." I stood there, frozen. How could she say that? My father left this house to me. But Gloria had always acted like she owned everything, and Rachel followed her lead. For the first time in years, I didn't argue or cry. I simply looked at her and said, "Fine. I'll leave." But in my heart, I knew this wasn't over. They didn't know the sacrifices I had made for them. They didn't know that their words were pushing me to a point of no return. And they didn't know what I was about to do next. As I packed my bags, my mind was racing. Every memory of Gloria and Rachel's mistreatment replayed in my head. The snide comments, the constant comparisons, and the way they always took me for granted. I could feel the weight of years of silent suffering lift off my shoulders as I zipped up my suitcase. This house may have been my father's gift to me, but it had become a prison. It wasn't a home anymore. Before I left, I went into my room and grabbed the folder I had kept hidden in the back of my closet. Inside were all the receipts for Rachel's college tuition payments, proof of what I had done for her. I wasn't going to let her forget it. As I walked toward the front door with my suitcase, Gloria and Rachel were sitting in the living room, sipping wine and laughing as if nothing had happened. When they saw me, Rachel smirked. "Finally leaving? Took you long enough," she said, rolling her eyes. I stopped in my tracks and looked at her. My voice was calm, but firm. "You know, Rachel, I always supported you. I paid for your tuition when you couldn't afford it. And this is how you repay me? By mocking me in front of everyone." Her face turned pale. "What are you talking about?" I held up the folder and dropped it on the coffee table. "Here's the proof. Every payment I made to keep you in school. You didn't even know, did you? Gloria told you it was her, didn't she?" Rachel glanced at Gloria, her confusion turning into anger. "You told me you were paying for it," she yelled. Gloria stood up, trying to keep her composure. "That's enough, Lily. Stop trying to cause drama. Just leave." I shook my head. "Oh, I'm leaving. But from now on, you're on your own. I won't pay another dime for either of you." With that, I walked out the door, leaving them to deal with the truth. For the first time in years, I felt free. The next morning, I moved into a small but cozy apartment on the other side of town. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I started focusing on myself for a change, working harder at my job, meeting new people, and taking care of my mental health. Meanwhile, things at the old house started to fall apart. Rachel couldn't keep up with her college payments and had to drop out. Gloria tried to guilt me into helping them, but I blocked her calls. One day, I got a text from Rachel. "Rachel, I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to forgive her, but another part of me knew that forgiveness didn't mean going back to how things were. I replied, "We can talk, but I won't let you take advantage of me again." When we finally met up, Rachel broke down in tears. She admitted that she had been jealous of me for years. She thought Gloria's approval was all that mattered, but now she realized how toxic Gloria's influence had been. "I know I've hurt you, Lily," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to make things right." Rachel began taking steps to rebuild our relationship. She apologized sincerely and started working to pay her own way through school. For the first time in years, I saw her as the sister I used to care about. As for Gloria, she tried to manipulate Rachel into turning against me again, but Rachel had finally seen her true colors. When Gloria realized she couldn't control us anymore, she left town, leaving behind the toxic environment she had created. Rachel and I slowly rebuilt our bond, this time based on respect and honesty. I still kept my distance, focusing on my own goals and happiness. But I knew one thing for sure: I would never let anyone take advantage of me again. Months passed, and life started to feel normal again. I had settled into my new apartment, focusing on my career and building a life that didn't revolve around my family's chaos. Rachel and I were slowly rebuilding trust, and I appreciated her effort, even if I wasn't ready to fully let her back into my life. Then one evening, as I was preparing dinner, my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. "Hellos," I answered hesitantly. "Is this Lily Andrews?" a firm voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "This is Margaret Gray from Greenfield Law Offices. I'm calling regarding the estate of your late father." My heart skipped a beat. "Estate?" I thought everything had been settled years ago. Margaret hesitated. "Not everything. There's a matter regarding your father's will that recently came to light. Would you be available to meet tomorrow?" I agreed, though I couldn't shake the feeling that this call was about more than paperwork. The next day, I sat in Margaret's office, my nerves on edge. She handed me a stack of documents, her expression serious. "Lily, your father left a second will, which was only recently discovered. This will overrides the previous one and includes a significant inheritance, a trust fund intended for you." My mind raced. A trust fund? Why wasn't this brought up before? "It was deliberately hidden," Margaret explained. "We believe Gloria suppressed it, claiming ignorance when the estate was originally divided. She likely didn't want you to access the funds." I felt a mix of anger and relief. My stepmother had stolen from me, but now I had the chance to claim what was rightfully mine. "Can I access it now?" I asked. "Yes," Margaret said with a smile. "And I think you'll find the amount substantial. Your father wanted you to have financial security." When I saw the numbers, my jaw dropped. The trust fund contained over $500,000. The news of the trust fund spread quickly, and it wasn't long before Gloria came crawling back. She showed up unannounced at my apartment, looking disheveled and desperate. "Lily, we need to talk," she said, her voice shaking. "There's nothing to talk about, Gloria," I replied, keeping my tone cold. "I know about the trust fund," she blurted out. "You don't understand how hard things have been for Rachel and me. We need help." I stared at her, incredulous. "You mean the same Rachel you manipulated into turning against me? The same Rachel who's finally learning to stand on her own without your toxic influence?" Gloria's face turned red. "I was trying to protect this family. Everything I did was for Rachel's future." "No," I said firmly. "Everything you did was for yourself. And you know what? I'm done cleaning up your mess." Later that week, Rachel called me in tears. "Gloria's furious with me," she said. "She thinks I betrayed her because I won't ask you for money." "What do you want me to do, Rachel?" I asked. "Nothing," she said, her voice steady. "I just wanted you to know that I'm done with her. I'm moving out and getting a job. I don't want to be like her anymore." Her words surprised me. Rachel was finally taking responsibility for her life, and for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope for our relationship. With Gloria out of my life, I focused on creating a future that I could be proud of. I used a portion of the trust fund to start my own business, something I had dreamed about for years. It wasn't easy, but it was mine, and it gave me a sense of purpose I had never felt before. Rachel and I stayed in touch, meeting for coffee or dinner occasionally. She was growing into a better version of herself, and I was proud of her. As for Gloria, I heard she moved to another city, leaving behind the wreckage of her own making. I didn't feel sorry for her. She had reaped what she'd sown. Looking back, I realized that being thrown out of my own house was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to stand up for myself, to stop letting people take advantage of my kindness. Now, I live a life filled with peace, purpose, and the knowledge that I am finally free from the toxic grip of my stepmother's control. And as for Rachel, she's finally learning what it means to stand on her own 2 feet, and maybe, just maybe, we'll find our way back to being sisters again.